My grandmother left me her bakery, but gave my estranged sister the secret recipes. The lawyer said we had to work together or lose everything. You'll have to work together or sell it all, the lawyer said with a smile that told me he knew exactly what he was doing. I stared at Mr. Abernathy across his polished mahogany desk, wondering if Grandma Rose had lost her mind in her final days. My sister Megan sat rigidly beside me, her designer purse clutched tightly in her lap, looking just as shocked. We hadn't spoken in 5 years, and now we were supposed to run a business together. This can't be right, I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. Megan doesn't even bake. She abandoned the family business years ago. Albert Abernathy adjusted his glasses. Nevertheless, Miss Bennet, these were your grandmother's explicit wishes. The sweet remembrance, bakery building, and equipment belonged to Riley. All recipes, particularly the secret collection, belonged to Megan. Megan finally broke her silence. I can't believe this. I have a life in Chicago, a career. She tucked a strand of perfectly highlighted hair behind her ear, the diamond on her finger catching the light. Everything about her screamed success. Unlike me, who'd stayed in our small town helping Grandma Rose frost cups up while my own dreams collected dust. Here is more, Mr. Abernathy continued, pulling out another document. If either of you refuses to participate, or if you choose to sell the bakery without attempting to run it together for at least 6 months, all proceeds go to the Riverside Animal Shelter. I nearly choked. The bakery was worth at least $500,000 in prime downtown real estate alone. Grandma's recipes, especially her famous caramel apple pie that had customers lining up around the block every fall, were worth just as much. This is ridiculous, Megan said, standing abruptly. I have meetings scheduled next week. I can't just drop everything for this manipulation from beyond the grave. I looked down at my hands calloused from years of kneading dough and scrubbing industrial mixers. The bakery was my sanctuary, the only place where I'd ever felt truly confident. The thought of Megan swooping in now after all these years of absence made my stomach twist. Your grandmother anticipated your reactions, Mr. Abernathy said, looking between us. She left you this. He handed me a sealed envelope with my girls written in Grandma's distinctive cursive. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. I could almost smell Grandma's vanilla-scented perfume as I unfolded the letter. Dearest Riley and Megan, I read aloud, my voice catching. If you are reading this, I've gone to join your grandfather. Don't be sad. We had a wonderful reunion with chocolate cake, I am sure. Now, I know you think I've lost my marbles with this arrangement, but here is method to my madness. You two were once inseparable, finishing each other's sentences and stealing bites from each other's cookies. Something broke between you, and my greatest regret is that I couldn't fix it before my time ran out. Consider this my last attempt. You each have something the other needs, and I don't just mean the bakery and recipes. Find your way back to each other. That's the true inheritance I want to leave you both. All my love, Grandma Rose. I folded the letter, blinking back tears. When I looked up, I saw Megan hastily wiping her cheek. 6 months, she said flatly. That's all I am committing to. Then we sell. I nodded stiffly, suddenly exhausted. Fine, 6 months. Little did I know that Grandma Rose had set in motion the most challenging and rewarding 6 months of my life. My sister arrived at the bakery the next morning, dressed like she was attending a corporate merger rather than making buttercream. Her stiletto heels clicked aggressively against the worn tile floor as she surveyed the space with the critical eye of someone mentally calculating how much money she could make from selling it. The health inspection certificate is out of date, Megan said, pointing to the framed document near the register. No, good morning. No, how are you holding up since our grandmother's funeral last week? Just straight to business. Renewals next month, I answered, wiping flour from my hands onto my apron. It's on the calendar. I gestured to Grandma Rose's ancient wall calendar, still displaying her neat handwriting. I couldn't bring myself to flip the page to the new month yet. Megan frowned, pulling out her tablet. We need to digitize all this. No wonder the business barely breaks even. The systems are archaic. I bit my tongue. The bakery wasn't just breaking even. It had been profitable for the past 3 years, since I'd convinced Grandma to add a coffee bar and extend our hours. But Megan hadn't bothered to visit, so how would she know the recipes? I said instead. We need them. Mrs. Hoffman already called asking if we'll still have Grandma's cinnamon rolls for her book club on Wednesday. A flicker of something guilt maybe crossed Megan's face. I haven't gone through the box yet. I could picture it perfectly. Hand-carved maple wood with a rose inlay on the lid, containing decades of Grandma Rose's culinary secrets, written on index cards and her flowing script. How many hours had I spent watching her flip through those cards, adding a pinch of this or a dash of that, never letting me see the full recipes for her signature creations? She always said you had the touch, Megan said quietly, surprising me. For baking, I mean, Riley feels the dough. She'd say whenever I made something that turned out like a hockey puck. The memory hit me unexpectedly. 12-year-old Megan, frustrated tears in her eyes as Ramab gently removed a tray of rock-hard cookies from the oven. Me, 2 years younger, effortlessly turning out perfect chocolate chip cookies on my first try, the beginning of the fracture between us. You were better at the business side, I offered. Remember when you set up that cookie stand at the farmer's market? You sold out in 2 hours. A ghost of a smile touched Megan's lips. I charged twice what Grandma thought was reasonable, and people paid it. I finished. For a moment, something of our old connection flickered between us. Then Megan's phone rang, Marcus calming, and the moment vanished. She stepped outside to take it, her voice immediately shifting to a professional cadence I barely recognized. Alone in the kitchen, I ran my hand over the worn butcher block where Grandma had taught us both to roll pie dough. Why had she done this to us, forced us back together after all this time? The bell above the door jingled and Mrs. Benson, one of our regulars, bustled in. I was worried you might not reopen. Is it true what they're saying? Your sister's back in town? News traveled fast in Millfield? Just temporarily, I assured her, moving to the display case. The usual blueberry scone and Earl Grey, she nodded, leaning conspiratorially across the counter. I remember when you two were little things, covered in flour from head to toe. Your grandma was so proud of both of you, her eyes softened. She never did tell me why Megan left so suddenly. Such a shame, you two were thick as thieves. I forced a smile, wrapping her scone. Once a thief, always a thief, I thought bitterly, remembering not just the childhood cookies Megan had stolen from my plate, but something far more valuable she'd taken later. When Megan returned, I was already elbow deep in dough for tomorrow's bread. We need those recipes, I said without looking up. Fine, she replied coolly. 7 o'clock and Riley, bling, the financial statements, all of them. If we're doing this, I want to know exactly what we're working with. As the door swung shut behind her, I punched down the dough with more force than necessary. 6 months suddenly seemed like an eternity. My sister, the corporate wizard, transformed the bakery's finances within 3 weeks. I hated to admit it, but Megan's spreadsheets and efficiency strategies were working. Our profits had increased by 15% already, and the line of customers often stretched out the door. We should expand the catering side, Megan Megan said one evening as I closed up the kitchen. She perched on a stool, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, the most casual I'd seen her since her return. Your wedding cake samples are incredible. I've had 3 different people ask for your card this week alone. I wiped down the counters, hiding my surprise at the compliment. I've always wanted to do more wedding work. Grandma thought it was too much stress. Grandma was playing it safe, Megan replied, tapping her pen against her legal pad. You are better than she was, Riley. Your raspberry filling alone could make us famous. The praise felt like sunshine after a long winter, warming places inside me I deliberately kept cold. I turned away, confused by the conflicting emotions. I didn't want to like working with Megan. Didn't want to remember how it felt when we were a team. We'd need to renovate the back room, I said, keeping my voice businesslike. Turn it into a consultation space. Megan was already sketching a layout. We could move these shelves, add a small settee here, maybe display albums of your previous work. I leaned over her shoulder, the familiar scent of her shampoo still peach after all these years, momentarily transporting me back to sharing a bathroom, fighting over hair products, borrowing each other's clothes without asking. The bell above the front door jingled, startling us both. We're closed, I called out, moving toward the front. A tall man in an expensive suit stood examining our display case. I am not here for pastries, he said, flashing a blindingly white smile. Simon Westbrook, Westbrook Development? He extended his hand to me, then noticed Megan. His smile widened. Oh, Miss Bennett. We'd still to see you again. I turned to Megan, whose face had gone carefully blank. Mr. Westbrook, she acknowledged. I didn't expect you until next week. I was in the area and thought I'd get a feel for the space. He walked around, assessing the worn tile floor and vintage fixtures with calculating eyes. The location, however, is prime ice, formed in my stomach. Megan, what's going on? My sister wouldn't meet my eyes. Mr. Westbrook is interested in the property for after our 6 months are up, she added quickly. Your sister mentioned you might be interested in selling come fall. Did she? I said, my voice dangerously quiet. I'll need those numbers we discussed, he continued, addressing Megan as if I disappeared, particularly utility costs for the last 2 years. I'll email everything tomorrow, Megan replied, professional mask firmly in place. After he left, the silence between us pulsed with tension. It was just a preliminary meeting, Megan finally said. He reached out to me. I didn't seek him out. But you didn't shut him down either, I countered. You've been planning your exit strategy from day one, haven't you? Just biding your time until you can cash out and disappear again. That's not fair, isn't it? You abandoned this place once before. Why would now be any different? Megan's professional composure cracked. Abandoned? Is that what you think happened? That I just woke up one day and decided to leave everything behind? What else would you call it? You got that fancy scholarship and never looked back, left me and Grandma to pick up the pieces? The pieces of what, exactly? Your wounded pride? Megan grabbed her jacket, movements sharp with anger. You have no idea why I left, no idea what I gave up. Enlighten me then, I challenged, blocking her path to the door for a moment. I thought she might finally tell me the truth. Then her phone rang, that boyfriend again, and the moment shattered. I have to take this, she said, pushing past me. As the door swung shut behind her, I noticed she'd left her notebook behind. I shouldn't look, I told myself even as I flipped it open. Lists of potential buyers, property valuations, property development potential, and maximizing return on inheritance. And there in the margin, a small doodle of 2 little girls holding hands, their heads bent together over what looked like a cookie. I slammed the notebook shut, unsure whether I wanted to scream or cry. The next morning, a massive order came in, wedding casting for the mayor's daughter, 2 days' notice. As I stared at the impossibly long list of sample cakes and fillings, Megan walked in, dark circles under her eyes, suggesting she'd slept as poorly as I had. I heard, she said simply, hanging up her jacket and reaching for an apron. Tell me what you need me to do. Despite everything, we fell into a rhythm, working side by side as if the years apart had collapsed. By the time we finished foxing the last sample, dawn was breaking and something had shifted between us. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. We make a good team, Megan said softly as we surveyed our work. We always did. I nodded, too exhausted for anger. So why are you already planning to sell this place? She sighed, running a flour-dusted hand through her hair. Some things can't be fixed with buttercream and good intentions. My phone rang at 6 a.m. with news that should have been devastating but instead felt like opportunity. Olivia Kane, the event planner for Riverside Garden Club's annual charity gala, desperately needed a new caterer. Their regular bakery had flooded overnight. It's 300 people, Riley, Olivia said, her voice tight with panic. Dessert bar, petit fours, the works. I know it's only 4 days away, but your grandmother always said you could work miracles. The Riverside Garden Club gala was the social event of the season. Every influential person in the county would be there, people who planned weddings, corporate events, and fancy parties, the exact clients we needed for our expansion. We'll do it, I said before I could overthink it. Send me the details. When Megan arrived an hour later, I was already surrounded by lists and sketches. We got the Garden Club gala, I announced. 300 people, 4 days notice. She nearly dropped her coffee. Are you insane? We can possibly. Yes, we can, I interrupted. But only if we work together, respects together. Megan set down her cup slowly. What did you have in mind? I pushed my sketches toward her, a sophisticated dessert display featuring miniature versions of our bestsellers, plus a show-stopping centerpiece cake that would showcase my decorating skills and Regama's beloved flavors. This is. Megan studied my drawings, professional assessment giving way to genuine admiration. This is brilliant, Riley, but the timing. We'll need to close the shop for 2 days, I said. Work around the clock, hire temporary help. To my surprise, Megan didn't immediately shoot down the idea. Instead, she pulled out her tablet and began calculating. If we pull this off, the publicity alone would be worth 10 times our regular monthly revenue. So you'll help? I asked, trying to keep the hope from my voice. She met my eyes directly for what felt like the first time since she'd returned. I'll do more than help. I'll make sure everyone in that room knows your name by the end of the night. The next 4 days became a blur of sugar, flour, and surprising moments of connection. We worked in tandem, anticipating each other's needs, finishing each other's sentences, echoes of our childhood dynamic that felt both foreign and achingly familiar. During our second all-nighter, as we piped delicate roses onto miniature cup hue, Megan broke our comfortable silence. Do you remember the lemonade stand disaster? I laughed despite my exhaustion. When we used salt instead of sugar, how could I forget Mrs. Pemberton's face? She demanded a refund, but was too polite to say why. And Drama, bless her, bought a whole pitcher and somehow drank it without flinching. She always protected us, I said, the laughter fading, even from each other sometimes. Megan's hand stilled. What do you mean? I hadn't meant to venture into dangerous territory, but it was too late now. After you left for college, she never let me say a bad word about you, not even when you missed her 70th birthday. Megan's face fell. I sent a gift. A gift isn't the same as being there, I said quietly, remembering how drama had saved Megan's place at the table until the very end of the night. I couldn't come back, Megan whispered, her eyes fixed on her work. It wasn't just about the scholarship, Riley. Finally, we were approaching the truth. Then what was it about? Why did you really leave? Before she could answer, our temporary helper, Zoe, burst through the kitchen doors. The fondant's acting weird. It's all sticky. The moment shattered. By the time we resolved the fondant crisis, the professional wall between us had been reconstructed, and Megan was fielding business calls while finalizing our delivery logistics. On the night of the gala, we transformed the garden club's terrace into a dessert wonderland. Tiny eclairs, jewel-toned tarts, and delicate macarons surrounded my centerpiece, a 4-tier cake that told the story of our town through sugar flowers and hand-painted seams. It's magnificent, Olivia breathed, inspecting our display. I blinked back unexpected tears, wishing Grandma could see us now working together, creating something beautiful. As guests began to arrive, Megan touched my arm. I've got this. Go get changed. She handed me a garment bag I hadn't noticed her bring in. Inside was a simple but elegant black dress. I can't accept. It's not a gift. It's marketing, Megan said firmly. The talent should look as good as the desserts. Now go. I'll handle things until you are ready. When I returned, I found Megan in her element, charming potential clients and discreetly distributing business cards. She'd styled her hair to match mine, was that deliberate, making our sisterhood unmistakable. The Bennett sisters. She was telling an engaged couple, continuing a family legacy with a modern twist. For one perfect evening, it felt like we'd found our rhythm again. As we packed up after receiving countless compliments and promising leads, Megan looked happier than I'd seen her since her return. We did it, she said, her smile genuine. Riley, this could really work. The business, I mean us. Hope bloomed dangerous and warm in my chest. So you are not still planning to sell? Her smile faltered. It's complicated. There are things you don't know. Then tell me, I pressed, sensing this might be our last chance at honesty. Megan opened her mouth, hesitated, then sighed. Not tonight. Let's just enjoy this win, okay? I should have pushed harder, should have demanded the truth then and there. Instead, I nodded, letting the moment pass, not realizing that our fragile truce was already crumbling underneath us. I should have known something was wrong when Megan missed our morning prep for the 3rd day in a row. After the triumph of the garden party, orders had flooded in wedding consultations, corporate events, even a television producer interested in featuring us on a regional cooking show. Our 6-month trial period was only halfway through, but we were already discussing long-term plans. Or so I thought. Riley Bennett. A courier appeared at the bakery's service entrance holding an envelope, signature required. Inside was a formal notice from Westbrook Development, thanking me for our preliminary agreement and confirming their interest in purchasing the property. Attached was a copy of a letter of intent with Megan's signature already on it. My hands shook as I read the details. The sale would proceed immediately after a mandated 6-month waiting period. They planned to demolish the bakery to build luxury condominiums. When Megan finally arrived that afternoon, I was waiting in Grandma's old office, the document spread across the desk. Going somewhere? I asked coldly, noting her designer travel bag. She froze in the doorway. Riley, don't. I cut her off. I've read it all. You signed a preliminary agreement 2 weeks ago, right after the garden party. Was that whole night just a performance, making me believe you cared about our future here? It's not what you think, Megan said, closing the door behind her. I was going to tell you one after the bulldozers arrived. I stood up, trembling with rage and hurt. You are unbelievable. All these years, I thought I was the one you betrayed when you left, but it was Grandma too, wasn't it? And now you are doing it again? Megan shot back, her composure cracking. That's all I've ever done, protecting me by selling my inheritance out from under me. The bakery is failing, Riley. I've seen the real numbers, not the optimistic projections you've been working with. Without significant investment, this place won't last another year. That's not true. Business has never been better because I've been silently covering the shortfalls. Megan finally exploded. The new coffee machines, the delivery van repairs, where do you think that money came from when the business account was empty? I sat down heavily, the fight draining out of me. Why would you do that? Because I promised her I would, Megan whispered, suddenly looking exhausted. I promised Roma I'd make sure you were taken care of. What are you talking about? Megan sank into the chair opposite me, her professional facade completely gone. When I left for college, it wasn't just about the scholarship, Riley. Rama was sick. She made me promise not to tell you. The room seemed to tilt. That's impossible. I was here every day. I would have known. She hid it from everyone. The treatments were scheduled when you were at school or working your part-time job. She wore wigs before she even lost her hair so you wouldn't notice the difference. Megan's voice broke. She didn't want you to give up your life to take care of her. She knew you would. And you? My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Why did she tell you? Because someone had to know. Siobhan had to help her manage things when she couldn't. She made me promise to keep her secret, to go to college as planned, to build a career that could support both of us if... Megan swallowed hard. If things went badly, my mind raced through memories of that time, Grandma's sudden interest in scarves and hats, her occasional fatigue that she blamed on age, the mysterious appointments that she brushed off as boring errands. She recovered, I said numbly. She was fine for years after that, Megan nodded. The treatment worked, she went into remission. But by then, I was established in Chicago, building connections, making the money she wanted me to have as a safety net for both of us. Why didn't you tell me after she recovered? Why stay away all those years? She asked me not to, Megan said simply. She was afraid you'd be angry that we'd kept it from you, that you'd feel betrayed. And the longer it went on, the harder it went on, the harder it went on, the harder it became to tell the truth. I finished. I've been sending money home for years, Megan continued quietly, paying off the bakery's mortgage, covering major repairs. Rama kept 2 sets of books, the ones she showed you and the real ones. And now I gestured to the letter of intent. How does selling the bakery protect me? The foundation is cracking. The electrical system needs a complete overhaul. The property taxes have tripled. Verma was keeping this place together with duct tape and determination. Megan leaned forward. The sale would give you enough to start fresh, open a new bakery in a better location, one without all these hidden problems. I shook my head, trying to absorb it all. Why didn't you just tell me the truth from the beginning? Would you have believed me? Megan challenged. After all these years of thinking I abandoned you both, she was right, and we both knew it. The silence stretched between us, filled with the weight of unspoken truths and misunderstandings. I need time to process this, I finally said, and I need to see those real books, all of them. Megan nodded, pulling a flash drive from her bag. Everything's here. I got Grandma's medical records. I wasn't supposed to keep those, but I thought someday you might need to know. As she turned to leave, I found myself asking, where are you going? Chicago, she replied, not quite meeting my eyes. I have meetings I can't postpone, but I'll be back in 3 days and we can figure things out then. After she left, laughed. I sat in Grandma's office until the sun set, surrounded by the ghosts of secrets kept and truths withheld, wondering if anything I thought I knew about my family was real. 3 days turned into a week, with no word from Megan beyond a brief text. Taking longer than expected, back soon. I threw myself into the bakery, working from dawn until midnight, partly to keep the growing list of orders fulfilled and partly to avoid thinking about the revelations that had upended my world. The flash drive Megan had left contained exactly what she promised. Years of hidden financial records showing a business that had been quietly struggling beneath its cheerful exterior. Brahma's medical files documented her secret battle appointments scheduled during my classes, treatments disguised as weekends with old friends. Most devastating were the emails between Megan and Rama, years of correspondence revealing their conspiracy of love. Megan sending money, Grandma giving updates on my life, both of them protecting me from truths they thought would hurt me. She's flourishing at the bakery Grandma had written just months before her death. You should see her with customers, Megan. She has my skill with pastry, but your gift with people. The two of you together would be unstoppable, perhaps someday. The revelation that Grandma had been planning this forced reunion for years should have made me angry. Instead, it left me hollow, aching with missed opportunities and wasted time. On the 8th day after Megan's departure, a pipe burst in the bakery's basement, flooding storage shelves containing decades of equipment and memorabilia. As I salvaged what I could from the water-damaged boxes, I found a leather-bound journal I'd never seen before, with "For My Girls" embossed on the cover. Inside, in Grandma's unmistakable handwriting, was the story of Sweet Remembrance Bakery. Not just recipes, but the memories attached to them. The German chocolate cake she'd made for her first date with Heidels, the lemon bars that had won the county fair when she was just 19, the midnight snack of warm milk and cinnamon sugar toast she'd made for my mother when she was pregnant with twins. Recipes are more than instructions, she'd written. They're stories, connections to our past, and blueprints for our future. When you bake something with love, you are leaving a piece of yourself behind, a sweet remembrance. Tucked between the pages was a sealed envelope with both our names. Inside was a letter dated just 2 weeks before her death. My darling girls, it began. If you are reading this, you found my journal, which means you are finally working together at the bakery as I've always dreamed. I know it hasn't been easy. Families rarely are. The bakery has been my life's work, but you too. You are my masterpiece. Megan, your strength and business sense have always amazed me. You sacrificed so much to protect our family, carrying burdens no young woman should have to bear. I watched you build walls around your heart, telling yourself it was necessary. Perhaps it was for a time. Riley, your passion and creativity light up every room. You've poured your heart into this bakery, sometimes at the expense of exploring the wider world. You've seen staying as loyalty, but sometimes it's just fear of change. The secret I never told either of you. This building was never meant to be your forever home. It was the incubator, the place where a family legacy could take root. But legacies grow and change. They adapt. The true inheritance isn't brick and mortar, or even the recipes in this book. It's the bond between you, the shared history that no argument or misunderstanding can erase. Whatever you decide, to keep the bakery, to sell it, to burn it to the ground, and dance on the ashes, though I'd prefer you didn't, do it together with clear eyes and open hearts. All my love, now and always, Rama Rose. I was still sitting on the damp basement floor, tears streaming down my face, when I heard the bell above the front door. We're closed, I called out automatically, my voice echoing up the stairwell. It's me. Megan's voice floated down. I came as soon as I heard about the flood. I clutched the journal to my chest as she descended the stairs, taking in the waterlogged chaos and my tear-streaked face. Oh, Riley. She knelt beside me, hesitating only briefly before putting her arm around my shoulders. I am so sorry, I should have been here. I wordlessly handed her Brahma's letter. As she read, fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. She knew, Megan whispered. She knew exactly what we'd do, how we'd react to her will. She knew us better than we know ourselves, I agreed. Better than we know each other. We sat side by side among the remnants of our shared past, the silence between us no longer hostile but contemplative. I didn't sign the final papers, Megan finally said. With Westbrook, I told them I needed more time. I looked at her in surprise. Why? Because it didn't feel right making that decision without you fully understanding everything. She gestured to the flooding around us, though this doesn't help our case for keeping the place. Despite everything, I laughed. A small, watery sound that somehow released some of the tension I'd been carrying. No, it really doesn't. Megan smiled tentatively. So what do we do now? I opened Grandma's journal to a page marked with a faded ribbon. I think, I said slowly, we start by making cinnamon rolls. With all this, Megan gestured at the flood damage. Especially now, I stood up, offering her my hand. Grandma always said baking was the best way to think through a problem, and we've got a big one to solve. As we climbed the stairs together, a plan began to take shape in my mind. Not quite clear yet, but promising. Something that honored the past while embracing a new future. By the time the dough was rising, we had begun to heal as well. Remember when we snuck downstairs at midnight to make birthday cups for Mom? Megan asked, carefully wiping flour from the counter. We used every sprinkle in the pantry. I laughed and still managed to burn half of them. Mom pretended they were perfect. She always did. Our mother had died when we were teenagers, leaving Drama Rose to raise us. Perhaps that shared loss with why we'd once been so close, and why Megan's departure had felt like losing another piece of my family. The next morning we surveyed the bakery with fresh eyes, the flooded basement, the cracked foundation Megan had mentioned, but also the worn spots on the floor where generations of customers had stood to place their orders, the window seat where we'd done homework after school, the wall of photos showing 4 generations of Bennett women flower-dusted and smiling. Westbrook's offer is substantial, Megan said, no longer trying to convince me but simply stating facts.